Chris Roberts here with Sterling Rhino Capital. And today we're going to share 7 tips on how to build a better business. So let's get started. Number 1, we'll talk about developing a mantra. Number 2, how to identify your value proposition and develop that skill once you figure it out. Number 3, write out your vision and purpose and develop a business model from there. Number 4, how to build a team, outsource, delegate, and then automate. Number 5, live below your means and save between 40 and 50% of your income. Number 6 is how to maximize the GMROT, gross margin return on your time. And number 7, build multiple businesses, creating multiple streams of income to secure your financial future. Those are the 7 things we're going to cover. Let's dive in, stick around. We'll give you some tips at the very end on how we utilized some of these skills. All right, so first, develop a mantra. What is a mantra? Well, a mantra really is just something that keeps you inspired or motivated, something that you come up with that drives you, something you can use as a beacon of light when you inevitably have those ups and downs. It's going to happen in business. You're going to have wins and failures and successes and things that just bring you down. And so a mantra can help you. My mantra is, I am not a victim of my environment or my circumstances, but I am the results of my action and my attitude. And I don't have time for fear in my life because I'm out achieving my dreams. Now, that mantra can fit all kinds of models. But for me personally, in some of the environments I grew up in and just some of the business challenges I've had, I've used that to go back and keep me focused, keep me on track. So that's my mantra. You guys can develop whatever you want, but you want to have something that you can look to keep you inspired. Number 2, identify your value proposition. Now, it doesn't matter if you're opening up a sandwich shop or starting a real estate business. You have to identify your skill sets because you'll quickly realize that you're going to need other people on your team to help you build out your dream. And if you can identify your value proposition, it'll make your life a whole lot easier. Identifying your value proposition could be you're very good at sales and marketing, so you're going to focus on the people. It could be you're very good with spreadsheets and back-end analytics and data, so you're going to handle the infrastructure and you're going to hire someone else to handle the people. But either way, you want to make sure you identify your value proposition and then share that with everybody and build upon those strengths. It's much easier to build upon your strengths than to go and try to get really good at something that you're just not good at. You want to outsource that if possible. So identify your value proposition and start building out around that. Next, you want to write out your vision and your purpose and develop a business model. Your vision, your purpose could be anything. It could be, I want to be the best X in the industry. Your vision could be, I want to build a wonderful company that employees can own someday. And we're going to do it by executing X, Y, Z. And so on and so forth. But you are going to need a business plan and a model, a framework. So don't overthink it. Just sit down and start whiteboarding things. Just start writing down ideas. You're going to need, if you need money, you're going to have to write out a business plan to some extent and share with a bank or a lender or an angel investor what your plan is and how you're going to execute. You're going to have to know a little bit about your competition, the type of income you have to bring in to pay your bills and pay your overhead and things of that sort. So vision, purpose, mission statements aren't everything. You're going to need a business model and a structure or framework. And you could download templates online for how to build a business plan. It's actually not that complicated until you really start getting granular. It also depends on the size of your business, but that's something I encourage you to do fairly early on. But it's not like a lot of business owners don't just start and shotgun approach and then eventually realize that to scale, they need more granular, more refined focus. And maybe then is when you actually need to develop a business plan because maybe you stumbled upon some success just by sheer work ethic, which is great. Number 4 was to build out a team and make sure you automate and delegate. So as you're going along your journey, it's really important, especially if you want to scale to, I told you earlier, you want to focus on your strengths and build upon those, but then outsource or partner up with folks that maybe support where you're lacking in those skill sets. And it's really important to bring on a team, which is why you see companies bringing on presidents, vice presidents, sales managers, COOs, CEOs, and so on and so forth, is because those folks fill in roles that are supporting roles in the company. And you want to make sure that you start to do that. And then you can also delegate out to virtual assistants, a little bit less expensive as far as labor, but you do have to understand there's a learning curve there. And even though maybe you save a little bit of money, you're probably going to work fairly hard to get those folks trained up, and that they are going to be limited in some of the work that they can do, especially if they're not from the United States, and just those language barriers and things of that sort to some extent. So it is really important, though, that you invest in your business, invest in your personnel, and that you delegate, because eventually you'll start to grow a lot quicker and easier if you can delegate those responsibilities, especially if you can start bringing on VAs and other administrative assistants to do the things that you just don't have time to do, because you may be the CEO or the president of the company, and you need to have the vision and the purpose, and you're the one driving the whole thing. So you need to outsource everything else that does not fit within your skill sets. Number 5 was live below your means, and then invest 40 to 50% of your money. So as you build out your model, your business, maybe you've got a few side hustles that you're doing on the side. The ultimate goal in life should be obviously to take care of your family and enjoy life, take a deep breath, your health, and so on and so forth. But as it relates to business, the ultimate goal is to stay in business, do more business, and make a profit. I mean, that's what business is all about, right? So as you start to make a profit, stay within your means. Don't start to live up to that salary or that business that you're bringing in and start spending more and more money. Make sure you peel off a piece of that money, pay yourself first, and start investing it. You could invest it in stocks, you could invest it in real estate, cryptocurrency, another business, but those could all be forms of income that are coming in. And the ultimate goal to really, in my opinion, creating wealth and generational wealth is to create passive cash flow through multiple streams of income. So as you start making a little bit of money, keep working hard. It might take you 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but eventually if you have that mindset, living below your means and continuing to pay yourself first, then that money will start making you money. And that's when you've really made it, because you've got that mailbox money when you're sleeping or hanging out on a beach. And the only way to do that is create passive cash flow or create multiple streams of income. So number 6 is maximizing your time. It's GMROT, gross margin return on your time. I love this one because it dives into some of the other things we talked about earlier, which is maximizing your time and delegating everything else. For example, you might find that you need landscaping done, and for the longest time you were out mowing the lawn. Well, if it takes you 2.5 hours to do your yard work, but you can pay somebody $100 a month to do that, how much is your hourly rate worth? Now, you may kind of enjoy it and whatnot, but I'm sure there's things other than yard work you would rather be doing. You want to make sure that you're delegating things that fall below, let's say, your pay scale or the hourly rate you might be paid. Unless it's a psychological thing for you, it feels good to be out in the sun and mow, and maybe it's a mindset thing for you, which is fine. But just remember, every minute that you are not producing, in essence, you're wasting, or it's taking up time you could be producing. Now, that could be, normally you watch 4 hours worth of TV. Well, cut 2 hours out and start producing, start working on your craft, start educating yourself in those 2 hours. That's a way you could do it. Or you could start outsourcing things that cost far less than what you're paid on an hourly rate. And that's a way to maximize your time, right? When I first started in the real estate business, I was swinging hammers, I was replacing floors, I was doing all these things, but I was also literally working 2 full-time jobs. So I would do that for 8 hours, I'd work 8 hours, and I slept 6 hours. And then in between, I took a deep breath and said hi to my wife when I first started. Thank goodness she stuck around. So you want to be thinking about that. Either you're going to be working 2 full-time jobs, or you're going to be replacing wasted time with efficient time and producing income that way. That's another great way to do it. And there's many examples of that. We can dig in more if you reach out to me. And then build multiple businesses, creating multiple streams of income. Again, we kind of touched on this, but number 7 is an important one, because as you make a little more money, you might open up that second shop. You might invest in, again, let's say a crypto or a passive real estate investment that produces income for you. And you don't really have to do anything. It just produces income. In the real estate example, that you can actually spend versus maybe an illiquid asset, like, let's say, investing in a retirement account where you can't really touch it till you're 65 or so. So there's advantages and disadvantages to certain investments. Maybe you got a single family residence where you have a little bit of cash flow, but the ultimate goal is to try to create streams of income that you can actually spend if you need it, or that you can take that money and then invest it in anything you want. And there are limitations on some of the retirement accounts, right? You can't just spend that money the way you want. It has to stay in there, and you're incentivized to a certain extent to do that. But there are other investment opportunities. So building multiple streams of income is critical, because most of us work a job our life and then retire at 65 or so, and that job produces a certain amount of income. But through human habits, we spend up to our paychecks, even as we get raises, because oftentimes those raises are not significantly higher than the rate of inflation. And so it becomes really hard to actually put a significant amount away. But if we train ourselves to live within our means, right? Don't buy the new fancy house, the new fancy car, and all the other things that drive us away from where our focus should be. Then as your income goes up and you reinvest that, it'll be a short matter of time before that money starts producing more money that you can then reinvest. And then 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you've got a massive retirement instead of a single linear, let's say IRA retirement. You might have some crypto, you might have some multifamily, you might have some single family and an IRA along with your job. And then all of that starts to replace your job income and you're retiring early. That's the ultimate goal. So that is my 7 tips on how to build a better business, maybe some things you could focus on to improve your business, or maybe you're just getting started. I'm Chris Roberts with Sterling Rhino Capital. It's been a pleasure sharing these 7 tips with you. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and share so we can spread the word. Thanks. All right, everybody. So thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. What did we do at Sterling Rhino Capital to build our success so quickly? Well, it started with me having a little bit of business experience in my previous life. So I've built several businesses and understood how important it was to build a good team around me, right? I have certain skill sets, that value proposition we talked about, but there are many other skill sets that are required to build a business. You know, I might be really good at talking to people or going to meetups or maybe even building business plans. But then there's a lot of analytical stuff. There's marketing, there's accounting. There's lots of other things in between that you have to figure out quickly who on your team can take on. And maybe it's not even that you don't have those skill sets. Maybe you just don't really enjoy doing them. So I quickly identified things that I like to do, things I didn't like to do, and where my value proposition was, and then quickly built a team around me of like-minded individuals that wanted to help grow and be part of something great, which is amazing. And then we took some roles like administrative roles, management roles, social media marketing, virtual assistants, things of that sort. And then started to delegate a lot of those responsibilities that maybe we picked up in the very beginning because we needed to scale and didn't have as many resources financially. So of course, everybody's got to kind of do everything in the beginning, but then as you grow, you kind of push things down and you start delegating it out. And that's what we did. So that helped us. We also had that vision, mission, that purpose, the mantra, things like that to keep us focused. We have regular executive meetings so that we all have our highlighted focus on the first things first, the most important things. And then obviously building out really good software to help you manage things. So I'd say the keys to our success so far and scaling as fast as we have been to build out the team and then utilize the software to help us measure and grow. Those are some of the tips and tricks that we've used. We also figure out how to maximize our time. You know, we don't just get on calls for hours and hours and chit chat. We have agendas, we focus. There are time blocks that we have to execute particular agendas and processes that need to be done. And then sometimes we might partner with a group to tackle a big opportunity. So there's nothing wrong with that either. And whatever business you own, you might think of cross-pollinating or branding with another company. Sometimes that's a great way to share a marketing budget. So you really just got to get creative. There's obviously lots of moving parts behind a business, but I just wanted to give you a few tips on how we actually did it on our side. So thanks for tuning in.